And I'm Grant.
Welcome everybody to the War College Seminar for the Charles S. Roberts Awards for 2025. Now, this was kind of set up by Brant, for example, as a Q&A thing, and we're going to do that. Wes, thanks for joining us as well. I'd like to thank the rest of you for coming by, but we are also going to announce the winners of the 2024 Charles S. Roberts Awards.
Hey.
And we have incredibly fancy envelopes and everything. Unfortunately, we don't have envelopes for all of the categories. So we will be just kind of reading them off at the beginning, and then we will segue into a slightly more elaborate presentation for the period awards and for the game of the year, which will be at the end of the presentation. After all of that, we will be delighted to answer your questions about the Charles S. Roberts Awards. If I haven't said this already, I'm Gary Mengel. I'm the director of the CSR Awards. With me tonight is Mr. Ryan Heilman, who is on our board of governors and one of the people who are continuing to make things happen here in 2025. And our director of photography here is Brant Guillory, who is also a member of both our nominating committee for this year, as well as the Hall of Fame jury. So, I'm going to begin with the Mode Awards. The nominees are, and I have to do this carefully because they're not in the correct order on my cheat sheet. Burning Banners from Compass Games, designed by Christopher Moeller. Dune, War for Arrakis, designed by Marco Maggi and Francesco Nepatello, and that's published by CMON. Europe in Turmoil 2, The Interbellum Years, designed by Chris Van Beurden and published by Compass Games. Red Dust Rebellion, designed by Jared Carmichael and published by GMT. And The Other Side of the Hill, designed by Carlos Marquez Linares and published by NAC Wargames. This is again for Best Strategic Game. The winner is Burning Banners by Compass Games and designer Christopher Moeller. Best Operational Game. The nominees are Dietis Campaign 211 BC, designed by Dan Forney and published by RBM Studios. Caporetto 1917, designed by Andrea Brusati and published by Europa Simulazioni, the best company name in all of wargaming, in my opinion. Italia 1917 to 1918, A Farewell to Arms, designed by Stefan Seneschal and published by Nuts Publishing. Stalingrad Roads, Battle on the Edge of the Abyss, designed by Nicolas Rident, published also by Nuts Publishing. And finally, Thunder on the Mississippi, designed by Joe Balkowski and Chris Withers and published by Multiman Publishing. The winner is Thunder on the Mississippi, designed by Joe Balkowski and Chris Withers and published by MMP. Next up is Best Tactical Game. I do have definitions available for the categories. We can, if anybody has questions, we can talk about that after the presentation. Our nominees are Cowpens 1781, designed by Pascal Tupi and published in Vevictus issue number 176. Panzer North Africa, designed by James Day and Fernando Solo Ramos, published by GMT Games. Rebel Fury, designed by Mark Herman and published by GMT Games. Old School Tactical Volume 4, The Italian Theater, designed by Shane Logan and published by Flying Pig Games. And our winner is, and Tattered Flags, Into the Whirlpool. We're doing this impromptu here, folks. Tattered Flags, Into the Whirlpool, designed by Herman Lutman and published by Blue Panther. Our winner is Panzer North Africa, designed by James Day and Fernando Solo Ramos and published by GMT. Our best new edition of a previously published game. Our nominees are Aaron Armour Würzburg, the designer's signature edition designed by Bruce Maxwell and published by Compass Games. France 40, second edition, designed by Mark Simonich and published by GMT. Port Arthur, designed by Yasushi Nakaguro and published by Nuts Publishing. Unhappy King Charles, second edition, designed by Charles Vassy and published by Phalanx. And Traces of Hubris, designed by Tetsuya Nakamura and published by VUCA Simulations. Our winner is France 40 second edition, designer Mark Simonich, and published by GMT. Next up is Best Political, Social, or Economic Game. Our nominees are Arabian Struggle, designed by Nick Porter and Tim Uren, published by Catastrophe Games. Crisis 1914, designed by Maurice Suckling and published by Worthington Publishing. Europe in Turmoil 2, The Interbellum Years, designed by Chris Van Burden, published by Compass Games. The Red Dust Rebellion, designed by Jared Carmichael and published by GMT Games, and The Republic's Struggle, designed by Teo Alvarez and published by NAC War Games. A winner is Red Dust Rebellion, designed by Jared Carmichael, published by GMT. Next up, we have our Best Solitaire or Cooperative Game. The nominees are Atlantic Sentinels, designed by Gregory M. Smith and published by Compass Games. I, Napoleon, designed by Ted Racer and published by GMT. Manila, The Savage Streets, designed by Michael Ranella and published by Revolution Games. Rome 2 Inc., From Diocletian to Heraclius, designed by Philip Jelly and published in Against the Odds, issue number 61. Viva Mexico, The Mexican Revolution, 1910 to 1920, designed by David Kershaw and published by White Dog Games. And Wolf Pack, The North Atlantic Convoy Struggles, designed by Mark Berticelli and published by GMT Games. The winner for Best Solitaire or Cooperative Game is I, Napoleon, designed by Ted Racer and published by GMT. We have two more categories, and then we'll switch up a little bit here. Best Hypothetical Game. There are 4 nominees. Those nominees are Close the Atlantic, World War III, designer Michael Raymond, and published by Blue Panther. The Enemy is at the Gates, designed by Adam Starkweather and published by Compass Games. Invasion Malta, designed by Vance Von Voorhees and published by Legion War Games. And Next War Iran, designed by Mitchell Land and published by GMT. And the winner is Next War Iran, published by GMT and designed by Mitch Land. And finally, for this segment, we have Best Wargaming Magazine. Our nominees for Best Wargaming Magazine are Against the Odds, C3I, Strategy and Tactics, War Diary, and Ve Victus. And our winner this year for Best Wargaming Magazine is C3I, published by RBM Studios. For Best Ancients Game, the nominees are Bayetis Campaign, 211 BC, designed by Dan Fordy and published by RBM Studios. Beware the Ides of March, designed by John Tyson and published by Hollandspiele. The Fate of All, designed by Fabrizio Vianello and published by Thin Red Line Games. History of the Ancient Seas, Volume 1, Hellas, designed by Carl Hauser and published by Sound of Drums. And Rome 2 Inc., From Diocletian to Heraclius, designed by Philip Jelly and published in Against the Odds number 61. And the winner is...
Let's
the
open this
envelope,
up.
please.
Okay. For Best Ancients Game, the winner is The Fate of All, designed by Fabrizio Vianello, published by Thin Red Line Games.
So congrats to Fabrizio. Okay, we'll get some pictures of these two because my wife made the envelopes,
nice.
So she will be mad if there are no pictures. So next we have Best Medieval Game. The nominees are A Jest of Robin Hood, designed by Fred Serval and published by GMT Games. Norman Conquests, Men of Iron Volume 5, designed by Ralph Shelton and published by GMT. Sword of Orthodoxy, The Rise and Fall of Byzantium, designed by Ben Madison and published by White Dog Games. Tanto Monta, The Rise of Ferdinand and Isabella, designed by Carlos Diaz Navarez and published by GMT. And Vijayanagara, The Deccan Empires of Medieval India, designed by Saviero Spagnoli, Matthew Johnson, Corey Graham, and Amon Matthews, and published by GMT Games. And the winner is...
Tanto Monta, The Rise of Ferdinand and Isabella, designed by Carlos Diaz Navarez, published by GMT Games.
Thank you, Ryan.
Awesome.
All right, next up is Best Gunpowder or Industrial Era Game. Our nominees are Banish All Their Fears, designed by David Fox and Ben Hull and published by GMT. Battle of Sekigahara, designed by Steve Kling and published by the Historical Game Company. Cowpens 1781, designed by Pascal Toupy and published by Victus in issue 176. Europe in Turmoil 2, The Interbellum Years, designed by Chris Van Beurden and published by Compass Games. And Imperial Bayonets for Liberty and Lombardy, designed by Matthew Ward and Ray Weiss, and published by Conflict Simulations Limited. And the winner is...
Cowpens 1781, designed by Pascal Toupy, published in Victus, issue 176.
Okay. Next up, we have Best Napoleonic Game. Our nominees are 1812, Napoleon's Fateful March, designed by Brian Asklev and published by VUCA Simulations. Alliance, designed by Tom Dalglish, Grant Dalglish, and Bruce McFarlane, and published by Columbia Games. I, Napoleon, designed by Ted Racer and published by GMT Games. Napoleon's End, designed by Kevin Zucker and published by the Operational Studies Group. And finally, Winter's Victory, designed by Mark Henkel and published by New England Simulations. And the winner is...
I, Napoleon, designed by Ted Racer, published by GMT Games.
Outstanding. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Next is Best World War I Game, and we do have a little bit of a special... Best American Civil Wars first. I'll do the special comment in a moment. For Best American Civil War Game, our nominees are Gettysburg 1863, designed by Grant and Mike Wiley and published by Worthington Games. Rebel Fury, designed by Mark Herman and published by GMT Games. Shiloh the First Day, designed by Steve Carey and published by Revolution Games. Tattered Flags, Into the Whirlpool, designed by Herman Luttman and published by Blue Panther. And Thunder on the Mississippi, designed by Joe Balkowski and Chris Withers, and published by Multi-Man Publishing. And our winner is...
Rebel Fury, designed by Mark Herman, published by GMT Games.
Thank you, Ryan, and congrats, of course, to GMT and Mark. Next up, we have Best World War I Game, and we do have like an asterisk on this one. Originally, we had discussed, we have a committee that takes care of this stuff, and we had nominated, based on the committee's final ballot, a game called Aces High. It is a World War I air combat game, and there is something of a convoluted story involved whereby they demoed the game and sent press copies out, but the game was not actually published in 2024. So we made a decision that it was going to be not eligible for the 2024 awards. That is this year. It will be eligible in the year it is actually released. So we're putting off Aces High for now. Our nominees, after that small note, our nominees for Best World War I Game are Caporetto 1917, designed by Andrea Brusati and published by Europa Simulazioni. Italia 1917 to 1918, A Farewell to Arms, designed by Stefan Seneschal and published by Nuts Publishing. Mud and Blood, designed by Stefan Ekstrom and Magnus Nordloff and published by Three Crowns Games. And finally, Schutztruppe, Heya Safari, designed by Dennis Bishop and published by Compass Games. And our winner is...
Schutztruppe, Heya Safari, designed by Dennis Bishop, published by Compass Games. Congratulations.
Congrats to Compass and the designer. Next up, we have Best World War II Game. Our nominees are The Greatest Day, Utah Beach, designed by Tom Holliday and published by Multi-Man Publishing. Old School Tactical, Volume 4, The Italian Theater, designed by Shane Logan, published by Flying Pig Games. 1 Hour World War II, designed by Clint Warren Davey and published by Worthington Games. Panzer North Africa, designed by James Day and Fernando Sola Ramos, published by GMT. And Stalingrad Roads, Battle on the Edge of the Abyss, designed by Nicolas Redent and published by Nuts Publishing. And the winner is...
Panzer North Africa, designed by James M. Day and Fernando Sola Ramos, published by GMT Games.
Okay. Next up, and last for this segment of the presentation this evening, is Best Modern Game. The nominees are 85 Afghanistan, Graveyard of Empires, designed by Mark H. Walker, published by Flying Pig Games. Operation Bolabank, designed by Nicola Sagini and published by Snafu Design. Purple Haze, designed by Bernard Grzybowski, to whom we apologize for mispronouncing his name, and published by Phalanx. Rifles in the Nom, designed by Gottardo Zancani and published by Tiny Battle Publishing. And the winner is... There were only 4 nominees for this category.
And the winner is Purple Haze, designed by Bernard Grzybowski, published by Phalanx.
So the Charles S. Roberts Awards nowadays segregate our award categories into mode awards for styles of games or types of games or particular mechanics, period awards, which we just went through, which are games depicting a specific historical period, and the capstone awards, which are for special presentation to designers for their work or contributions to our hobby. So now we will present the Redmond A. Simonson Memorial Award for Outstanding Graphical Presentation. Our nominees are The Jest of Robin Hood, published by GMT, graphics by Robert Altbauer, Terry Leeds, and Chechu Nieto. Burning Banners, published by Compass Games, graphics by Christopher Moeller. I, Napoleon, published by GMT Games, graphics by Jacques Onfroy de Breville and Domhnall Haggerty. Winter's Victory, published by New England Simulations, graphics by Antoine Jean Gros and Mark Hinkle. Undaunted 2200 Callisto, published by Osprey Games, graphics by Roland McDonald. The winner of the Redmond A. Simonson Memorial Award for Outstanding Presentation for 2024 is Burning Banners, published by Compass Games, with graphics by its designer, Christopher Moeller. Next, we have the James F. Dunnigan Award for Playability and Design. Our nominees here are Joseph Balkowski, Mark Herman, Herman Letman, Ted Racer, and Pascal Tupi. And our winner for the James F. Dunnigan Award for Playability and Design is Mark Herman. and Mark can tell Jim that when he goes to lunch with him next time. Next, we have the Chad Jensen Memorial Breakthrough Designer Award for Best New Designer in Wargaming. Our nominees are Clint Warren Davey for 1 Hour World War II, Saverio Spagnol, Matthew Johnson, Corey Graham, and Aman Matthews for Vijayanagara, the Deccan Empires of Medieval India, Carlos Diaz Navarez for Tanto Manta, and Valentin Crespel, Andy Lokes, and Yves Roig for Gettysburg, A Time for Heroes. The winner of the Chad Jensen Memorial Breakthrough Designer Award for this year is Carlos Diaz Navarez for Tanto Manta. Now, we do have one actual award remaining to announce, but first we would like to announce the inductees for the Charles S. Roberts Awards Wargaming Hall of Fame for 2024. Now, we have a bit of a unique situation this year. As you might know, our chairman, honorary chairman, because he ran the Charles S. Roberts Awards for many years, was Roger B. McGowan. And Roger tragically passed away early this year after losing his home and livelihood and everything in the LA fires. This affected us and me very deeply and the entire hobby. And so the board, given the special nature of this particular year's Hall of Fame induction, by unanimous decision has decided to induct Roger into the Hall of Fame. Shockingly, I think, to everyone in the room here, this did not happen already, but that is because Roger had expressed his wish to not receive that honor to avoid the potential conflict of interest given our mandate from Charles S. Roberts himself. So we are pleased, again, by unanimous decision of the Board of Governors, to induct Roger into the Hall of Fame, into which he is beyond deserving. Roger is actually a member of the Adventure Gaming the Academy of Adventure Gaming Arts and Sciences Hall of Fame already, which is the Origins Awards people thing, which split off from the Charles S. Roberts Awards many years ago. Even they, not being especially concerned with war games, saw fit to induct Roger, and justifiably so. His graphic work has defined wargaming throughout his career and will continue to do so for many years henceforth. We'll still be seeing Roger's impact, and we will miss him personally as well. That is actually why we're doing this tonight this way, instead of doing a show on YouTube and making an announcement and press releases and all that stuff. It was just really too difficult to do the segment that we needed to do for Roger. So farewell to Roger, and to all the others who have passed since the last Charles S. Roberts Awards were granted out. And I won't list all the names, but we all know people who we have lost over the last year or so. We will also announce that in addition to the special vote of the board conducted for Roger McGowan, we are inducting 3 additional individuals into the CSR Awards Hall of Fame this year. Those individuals, in alphabetical order, are Frederick Bay, for his long career of a variety of designs, including multiple CSR-nominated games, and helping to lead a wargaming renaissance in Europe. S. Craig Taylor, for his innovative wargame designs, which have stood the test of time and includes a number of enduring classics. And Danny Parker, for his lifetime of scholarship and design work within one of wargaming's most popular, yet competitive topics. So congratulations to Frederick Bay and Danny and the late S. Craig Taylor. We have one further award to announce, and that is for the Charles S. Roberts Awards Game of the Year. The envelope is here. The nominees are I, Napoleon, designed by Ted Racer and published by GMT Games. Rebel Fury, designed by Mark Herman, also published by GMT Games. I went out of order. Panzer North Africa, designed by James M. Day and Fernando Solo Ramos, published by GMT Games. Tattered Flags Into the Whirlpool, designed by Herman Luttman and published by Blue Panther. And Thunder on the Mississippi, designed by Joe Balkowski and Chris Withers and published by Multi-Man Publishing.
You want to open this one?
I will take the envelope. The winner is Panzer North Africa, designed by James M. Day, Fernando Solo Ramos, and published by GMT Games. So the Charles S. Roberts Awards would like to congratulate all of our winners for this year. We would like to thank everyone who participated in our process of selecting the nominees and the Hall of Fame inductees. And we'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight and seeing this presentation. The Charles S. Roberts Awards began as the Origins Awards in 1975 and have continued with a short interruption since then. There was a split sometime around 1987. We're still kind of trying to document that particular piece of awards history. And the CSR Awards have existed for war games specifically since around 1987. This will be my 3rd or 4th year as director. 3rd or 4th year as director. I'd have to look at the chart. So, because I cannot remember these trivial statistics at the end. We will now open up the floor to anyone who would like to ask questions. Alan. That is a fabulous question. So, since the very beginning, the Charles S. Roberts Awards and the Origins Awards previously were selected by a public vote. Okay, and it was seen when I took over as something we didn't really want to change. But the nominations process had become problematic, where there were a lot of categories that didn't necessarily make sense when one looked at the nominees. So, for example, a winner of the Best Map Art Award, for example, did not have a map in the game. There were other issues with games that had been released in previous years and so forth. So we did some category cleanup. We now have a nominating committee that forms toward the very end of the year, and it will conduct its work in the early months of the year. So for next year, we'll probably start in Q4, and we'll do the committee work in Q1 to be able to release the winners at about this time. We did conduct a public ballot that was open from May 1st to June 1st this year, and we had I think just a hair fewer votes this year than we had last year. Our number last year was record-breaking so far as we actually have statistics. We didn't do quite as well this year because we didn't promote as much this year, and that's one of the reasons why after the conclusion of this year's awards, so pretty much now, we are going to be asking for volunteers to assist us in some capacity with the Charles S. Roberts Awards, to do various things like put up the social media posts and run the website and do all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. There is a Charles S. Roberts Awards Facebook group that folks can participate in and see the news and all that stuff. Alan, you have another question.
I'm assuming because it's an online ballot.
It is an online ballot. Correct. Originally, of course, as you know, it was a paper ballot that was passed around at Origins. We are not restricted to that anymore. There are things that, based on the type of award that the CSR awards have always historically been, there are certain challenges that we face. And we're doing what we can to mitigate some of those challenges. So, additional questions from anyone? This has only taken 31 minutes, which is fantastic. I can talk fast, in case anyone was wondering about that.
Snafu, there was some burnout, we think, and
We didn't say there was a snafu, not the publisher.
no, this has nothing to do with Snafu coaching. And the awards there was a problem, and then I was asked to step in, and it was, I was asked, and I said absolutely not, and then Roger asked, and I couldn't tell Roger no. So I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Roger. And maybe I wouldn't be a war gamer if it weren't for Roger, because I grew up on all those Avalon Hill games that were done, had the graphics done by him. So our awards this year are dedicated to Roger. There will be a video presentation that will be available on the YouTube channel, No Enemies Here, whenever Dan gets the video editing done. Shouldn't be much more than a week, because Dan is very efficient and much better organized than you would think by watching his content on YouTube. Are we still recording?
No.
I turned it back on actually a couple minutes ago, just
Did you really?
just to catch some random chatter while you guys were doing your thing.
That's okay. Dan is abused weekly on our Sunday evening show, so he will be used to it. And we love Dan very much, and we appreciate
said
his
Friday
assistance
evening.
with the awards. It is also true to say that after that 2001 awards year, if it weren't for Dan, we wouldn't have a Charles S. Roberts Awards this year. So, and a lot of people might not know all the stuff that Dan did behind the scenes to kind of help with the course correction.
Because I know 2000, was it 1991, there were no certificates or anything, and I knew that where people had dogs voting. It actually happened.
Horror stories about various.
Yeah,
wars.
and certainly, we are aware of the potential for ballot box stuffing.
Yeah.
And we are aware that it has occurred in the past, but unfortunately there really isn't anything we can do to stop that without pulling the entire process behind a curtain and making it a jury award. We felt comfortable doing that with the Hall of Fame, but not with the awards as a whole. So now the Hall of Fame is kind of a separate award from the Charles S. Roberts Awards, but it is administered by the Charles S. Roberts Awards. And eventually, I want to have a website so people can look at John Prados and Redmond Simonson and Mark Herman and see what they've done and all their accomplishments to see what does for that year. So if anyone here is a web designer, I would like to
Exploit their free labor.
Why have you known you for like 5 years and you've never told me this? And it would be remiss of me to not mention that a Charles S. Roberts Awards winner is present in this room with us this evening.
No, it's me.
2, actually.
Oh, I was gonna say Jim too.
I was thinking of Jim.
I won.
But Ryan is also a Charles S. Roberts Awards
Like,
winner
who are you looking at?
for his fine game, Brave Little Belgium.
No, that's not.
No, for lucky little Luxembourg.
You're right.
So I did win. I probably shouldn't have won. And not only did I win, but my neighbor won. And my neighbor's good friend and my good friend for our postcard game, Lucky Little Luxembourg. And then after all that occurred,
This was in fact an award for the postcard game.
It was a
so
award for postcard
clarity.
game.
We have dropped that category because it is impossible for us to track that
and then he said, "You have to come help out after that debacle."
as punishment. So Ryan,
But Jim won for his magazine.
Ryan's
I also won for co-winner
Yes.
for Incheon in '91.
Okay.
And the other winner for best block for post-World War game was Dan Verson for the original Hornet Leader.
Okay.
We tied.
And then you had the best amateur.
Best amateur magazine.
I remember.
Yeah, that was another category that we felt obliged to drop because there are amateur magazines. I'm sorry, Jim, but there are amateur publications. There were publications that are not amateur publications that were getting nominated in the amateur publications category. War Diary magazine is not an amateur publication. It is a professionally published magazine with professional quality content. And it had just become, there were some categories that were simply problematic that we just didn't feel we could execute on correctly or competently. Right now we have 20 categories, and I would like to say that there will never be any more categories than that, because additional categories add additional work. And there is already considerable work going on behind the scenes to bring you these fine awards.
Plus, you collapsed all the graphics categories.
That is true. You know, he took some flack for that too, mostly by artists. And I get where they're coming from, and they're not wrong, but those were also very problematic categories. And we would have like 35 categories now, and frankly, it would literally almost double the amount of work that this takes. And as a completely volunteer, and with an organization with a budget of exactly $0, was simply, we want the awards to continue and be strong, and we have to execute them in a way that we can execute them. So we did have to refine a lot of the categories and things like that. And all this information can be